Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Blizzcon Line started last night and it started with lots of reveals for all Blizzard games, including Hearthstone where we got the reveal of the next Hearthstone expansion, Forged in the Barrens, and all sorts of usual stuff. However, in this video, I want to talk about 5 things that were part of the reveals that I don't think were emphasized very much, but I think are very important. First of all, the Shaman hero power is going to be changed. This is the first hero power change ever in Hearthstone. The Shaman hero power will still summon a random totem, but the basic totem pool is changing. Wrath of Air totem, the spell damage totem, is leaving and it's being replaced by Strength totem. At the end of your turn, give another friendly minion +1 attack. And I think this change is quite a big deal. It's not a straightforward nerf, neither is it a straightforward buff. But it really depends on what kind of Shaman you play, because I think this is quite clearly a nerfed Control Shaman. I must have played hundreds of Control Shaman games, where rolling Wrath of Air totem is the difference between victory and a loss. Can I get spell damage? Can I get some spell damage for my landslide even? Just very important. Whereas I rarely care about getting a little bit of attack on my stuff. Whereas if you're playing a more mid-range style or aggressive Shaman deck, then getting some strength totems, getting some attack buffs, that can be the difference between winning and losing. It makes Shaman a little bit more proactive, a little bit more aggressive, but also gives a little bit less fuel for your spells. Primarily hurting Control Shaman types, but also potentially hurting Burn Shaman types a little. So I think this is actually a major change that wasn't emphasized very much on the stream. Second, we got some reveals from the new Corset, including reimagined old dragon aspects, like Ysera the Dreamer, 9 mana, 4/12 dragon, battlecry, add 1 of each dream card to your hand. The old Ysera will still be available in Wild, but this is a new card for the Corset, so this will be given to all players for free, and I think this is actually a really strong legendary card. If you have a deck that can go that late, that is. But anyway, the first thing that I thought about was, oh my goodness, I'm just going to bounce that back into my hand. Next turn I play the Awakens and a couple of minions. The turn after that I play Ysera again, I bounce it back to my hand. But Blizzard was one step ahead, and they have changed the dream cards. You could see the new dream cards in some of the promo material, and there's also been discussion about them with the developers on Twitter. We don't have the official images, the high resolution graphics for these yet. But Dream is going to cost 1 mana instead of the 0 that it costs right now, and it's going to return an enemy minion to your opponent's hand. So you can't bounce your Ysera back, sorry. Emerald Drake is unchanged, Laughing Sister is going to be cheaper at 2 mana, Nightmare is going to give +4/+4, it will be a Shadow Spell School, instead of the +5/+5 that it currently gives, and Ysera Awakens is going to cost 3 mana. This is still a really powerful set of cards that you can get to your hand just by playing Ysera, so big value box right there. And some of these are playable on the same turn when you play Ysera as well, but you can't bounce Ysera on her own, that's worth a note. Also during Blizzcon Line we got surprise patch notes, and without any fanfare, Hyper Allura was surprisingly nerfed. From 4 mana to 5 mana. The main target of Allura nerf is of course Ramp Paladin, which is currently the best deck in the game. Playing Allura and a coin, or Allura and a 1 mana spell, you get your tip to scales, get a board full of Murlocs. That's early, and that's devastating. Now it comes a little bit later. So if you're playing an aggressive deck, you have a little bit more time to pressure the Ramp Paladin. If you play a mid-range deck, you have a little bit more time to build up some kind of a board so that you can fight back. If you're a control deck, you get a little bit more mana, so that if they play like Allura and a 1-cost spell, and you're a priest, you can coin your Soul Mirror in response. Given that we now have a few weeks of experience and it did look like Ramp Paladin, there was nothing stopping that, then this is a very welcome nerf for the final weeks of the Darkmoon Races metagame. Fourth, there's going to be an update to new and returning player experience, and these are pretty significant news. Removing the fights against Malfurion, Tyrande and Hakkar for returning players, and overhauling the legendary quest line for returning players to reward a total of 15 card packs from recent expansions. That's great news. They don't tell what they're going to do with the new player decks. I assume that those are still going to remain, but stay tuned, we'll find out, and if we get updated new player decks, I will of course review them. And for new players, the starting legendary questlines are being renewed, so that quests can also be completed in Battlegrounds. They said that a lot of new players now are going straight to Battlegrounds after the introduction, and they now want to give those Battlegrounds players some card packs, so maybe they can entice them to try Constructed as well. And that's really good. Also, Demon Hunter unlock is changed. That's great because I've seen people complain sometimes that it's difficult to unlock Demon Hunter, and it can be if you're a brand new player and you don't really know much about concepts of tempo and how the game should be played. Players will now be able to unlock Demon Hunter just like every other class by fighting against the class in Constructed or beating the class in Practice mode. Completing Demon Hunter Prologue will still unlock the class, but will now reward one Demon Hunter class pack as well. So that's great news. Demon Hunter is a very cheap class typically, it's easy to build Demon Hunter decks, giving new players faster access to Demon Hunter. That's really excellent news. And finally, completing all Book of Heroes missions for a class will now unlock that class. I'm not sure how much this is going to help actual new players, because some of those Book of Heroes missions are actually pretty difficult if you don't know what you're doing. So those are probably not like the first thing that you're able to accomplish in the game. Anyway, Hearthstone has had some serious issues with the new and returning player experience, and it's great that they're working on fixing those. Thinking about the longevity of the game, this can be one of the most important changes that they're making. And finally, even though not much was said about this, new mechanic spell schools. So these are like minion types but for spells. Like these new cards, Desperate Prayer, Priest spell to restore 5 health to each hero, it's a holy spell, or Shaman's Chain Lightning, it's a nature spell. And lots of old spells are being regrouped into these schools. 44 spells from the past for Arcane, 22 for Fel, 112 for Nature. And they are now also printing minions that have support for specific spell types, like Spirit Healer, after you cast a holy spell, you render friendly minion +2 health, or Brukan, nature spell damage +3. So this is actually a very significant change for Hearthstone, and as time goes on and there are more and more synergy cards that synergize with specific spell schools, this is going to be even more important. This means that completely random generation and the value of stealing stuff from your opponent becomes a little bit less valuable, because you might have tools in your deck that synergize with the specific spell schools that your class is usually using. And then if all your spells deal shadow damage and you steal a Brukan and it gives nature spell damage +3, you don't have any nature spells, well, then Brukan is not that valuable to you. And on the other hand, some of these effects that are spell school specific are pretty strong because they require you to build your deck a bit around them. So looking a few expansions ahead, I think the spell school thing is a huge thing and it's going to greatly affect how we play Hearthstone. Overall, I was quite happy with all the reveals, lots of exciting things coming for Hearthstone, and just wanted to highlight these 5 things that you may not have thought about that much. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.